Hey, what's up, everybody? Chicago Goonie here, bringing you another Arsenal talk. In this Arsenal talk, I'll just be covering the Newcastle match that just ended. I mean, like 3 points is 3 points, I guess. Um, it was like it was a tale of two halves, and um, you were looking for a response from Arsenal. Uh, after getting knocked out of the Champions League, you were just looking for that confidence and that it wasn't going to affect them. And first half, I mean, first half we looked dominant. We looked like the superior team. Um, you know, we just did everything right. I mean, it looked like it was going to be a game that we were going to be like scoring four, maybe five. I mean, we were just doing just about anything that we kind of wanted to in that first half. Um, Newcastle kind of looked slow, especially in the back. Their defending was horrid just because of the fact they only had one actual center half. I mean, they had a midfielder playing right back or left back. I mean, um, and they had their right back was playing center half. I mean, it kind of looked like an Arsenal back line with all the injuries and suspensions that they have to deal with at Newcastle. But in that first half, again, we looked good, and the only thing that would have a I'll get into that in the second half, but set pieces, two goals off set pieces, both by Olivier Giroud. Um, the first one was like kind of like a ricochet from Danny Welbeck to Giroud stuck his knee out and got his knee on the ball and directed into the goal, and it wasn't deflection or it wasn't anything like that. It was that was his own doing. That was meant to be exactly what he wanted to do with it. Of course, the second goal that was just a straight header. Giroud using his strength to really hold off the defender and just it was a perfect header on goal. Anita wasn't covering the far post like he was supposed to, and brace by Olivier Giroud in the first half. They were really trying. I mean, it looked like he was going to get a hat trick in the first half, just by the way we were playing and the opportunities that we're the chances that we're creating for ourselves. We looked strong, we looked fast, we looked in control. Obviously, with the starting lineup, Mesut Ozil was completely out of the team, I guess, with an illness. I know a lot of people were asking about that pre-game and even during the game, and that he has some type of illness, probably, who knows, French food, what can you say? And but again, the lineup looked good. There was, Chambers came in as right back. Monreal stayed as left back. Gabriel came into the center half position for Per Mertesacker, and he looked good the first half. I mean, he was stopping everything, intercepting the ball, reading the game well. Made no mistakes that you can really talk of. The back line didn't really make all that many mistakes. Monreal was kind of like invisible. He wasn't really called upon in the first half really to really do much. Chambers, even throughout the entire game, he just looks lost sometimes. I know he's young, he's inexperienced, he's still trying to, find his way a little bit. But when you try to compare him from, earlier in the season when he was playing center half and he was playing well, and that's definitely his position of choice going into the future. But in right back, if he's not attacking, he just looks lost. He looks like he's out of position a lot. He doesn't read the game all that well in that right back position defensively. Even when he's on the ball, sometimes he tries to stay on the ball way too much. Sometimes he tries to make too many different type of moves to try to keep possession. And when you're a fullback, it was, in the second half, the fullbacks were awful. Monreal was awful. Chambers was awful. Our fullbacks were one of the reasons why Newcastle was just attacking and attacking, and they were attacking us on Chambers' side a ton, even Monreal's side a ton, and But with Chambers, I mean, it's just, you need to take one or two touches and get rid of the ball. Unless you're, in that final third when you can cross the ball in, one or two touches, get rid of the ball. Don't stay on the ball, way too long. When you're a fullback, when you're an actual, center half, your on the ball skills aren't that great. Um, I mean, is his on the ball skills a little bit better than normal center halves? Yeah, sure. But at the same time, like again, like I said, one two touches, get rid of the ball, and he just wasn't doing that. And of course, he got caught on, the break several times, obviously during the game. Um, even at halftime, as an Arsenal fan, you're thinking, okay, we're going to score like four, maybe five goals today because that's how dangerous we were in the first half. That's how kind of bad the defending was by Newcastle. But Newcastle came out completely different team in the second half. We came out a completely different team in the second half. I think we came out overconfident, like we were just going to roll over them. Kind of like the West Ham game where West Ham didn't do anything for 90 minutes, and we kind of took that same approach to where we're just, they're not going to play anymore. We're just going to roll over them. We can do what we kind of did in the first half, and we don't have to worry about much. But you know, Newcastle came out guns blazing, fast. They kept on possession a lot longer. Like I said, they were attacking our fullbacks throughout the entire game. Um, if it wasn't for Coughlin, Kashoni, and Gabriel, we would have been pretty much screwed in that game. Aaron Ramsey didn't have the best game at all. Um, Especially in that second half when we were taking like Santi off and then Sanchez off, and you were really looking at Aaron Ramsey to kind of like take over the game and hold possession and make good passes, and he just wasn't the entire game almost. First half he looked okay, but in that second half he was just awful. He really has to start paying attention to where he is on the field. A lot of times he was just way too far up the pitch. He was like leaving Coughlin on an island. The middle of the field was just wide open the majority of the time because he was just pushing too far forward and just uh, you know, trying to get the ball back, obviously. But at the same time, if you know you can't get the ball back and you're still trying to push far upfield, I mean, there was times where he was even further up the field than Giroud was, and Giroud's work rate and his ability and his wanting to defend and try to get the ball back and help try to get the ball back. And, Ramsey's positioning throughout the second half was pretty terrible. And of course his passing was just as bad. He was, again, giving the ball away. Everybody was in that second half. I mean, no one could keep possession. No one could make a pass. Our 5 to 10 yard passing in the second half was absolutely horrid. We couldn't complete a single pass, 5 to 10 yards most of the time. We're just giving the ball away. It seems like Sanchez and Welbeck were kind of noticing that, kind of understanding that, and they were just trying to take on defenders, sometimes 2, 3 at a time, unfortunately. And there's plenty of times where Danny Welbeck was on the ball, and there was just no help from Monreal, no help from Aaron Ramsey, no help from Santi. It was good to see Rosicky get in the game because he kind of shored things up a little bit. To where we could hold on to possession a little bit. His passing was a lot better than even Santi's in the second half. I mean, Santi was, you could see, the midweek game kind of start to wear down, especially on Santi, and I think he even possibly even sprained his ankle in that game because there was a couple times even in the first half I think it was the chance on Krul where Krul came out and it was just Santi and him alone, and Santi tried to make a couple moves, and Krul made a little bit of a challenge, and he came up kind of lame a little bit, and he did again in the second half. There was a challenge put on him, and he was kind of hobbling a little bit on that ankle. So hopefully it's not too serious. Hopefully it's just a minor knock, something that's not going to keep him out of the lineup, or something that's not going to keep him out for an extended period of time. But again, our short passing was just awful. Everybody was giving the ball away. Everybody was trying to stay on the ball way too long. Even Coughlin did at times. Ramsey did at times. Everybody did basically. I'm not just going to single out one single player. I mean, everybody was just giving the ball away, and we were defending for our lives, especially for the last about like 15, 20 minutes, basically throughout the whole second half. But that last like 15, 10 minutes, Ospina came up huge, a few times. One with his foot, another his positioning was great on Sissoko's back header. He was right there to get that. Gouffran had a chance as well. It was like a little dink, but his positioning was great. Again, if it wasn't for Ospina, I think we might even lose that game just because they had just chance after chance after chance. We just could not gain possession, and we just could not string passes together. It just seemed like we were tired at times, not confident. Newcastle was a stronger team in the second half. They wanted it more. Just luckily that we had enough quality, especially in the back, and with Ospina and Gabriel and Kashoni and Coughlin coming up huge near the end of the game too, with the sliding tackles and intercepting the ball, and luckily for those guys that we were able to hold them off at the end there, and get the 3 points, keep our position in the standings at in third. Of course, after this is the international break. Of course, it could be a good thing or bad thing. Right now, we're in form as far as points. It's our sixth straight win. We haven't done that in 2 years. 6 straight BPL wins. We haven't done that in 2 years. I think we have 3 straight away wins as well. Which is good to see that type of that we can go to a place like Newcastle in the Northeast, which is even though we have good form up there, even though we've won a number of games up there as of late, it's still a tough place to go to and win, regardless. And Newcastle showed a ton of fight, but again, it might be a good thing, it might be a bad thing. I think it might be a good thing that we do have an international break right now to some guys will be going, I think Welbeck, Theo, and Gibbs got called up to the England squad. Giroud and I believe Kashoni got called up to the French national team, and so on. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Mesut Ozil, if he goes back to Germany or not. I'm sure he probably will, but it'll be interesting to see if he'll actually play during this 2-week international break, and see if he's healthy enough to play. But the majority of the team will be going back to their native countries. Of course, one of the big news was Gabriel got called up to the Brazilian team. I guess David Luiz has an injury, so he got called up in his place. So that's good that he's being called up to the national team in Brazil, because that team definitely needs defenders and help in the back, and so it's going to be interesting to see how how hard the national teams go and what they do during this during this break, and maybe some guys can get a little bit much needed rest. Maybe they don't go as hard as they usually do. Who knows what's going to happen, but we always hate these international breaks. I do. Sometimes, especially this late in the season, it seems like it's almost kind of like uncalled for like friendlies to happen and stuff like that. But then sometimes you do want to see your national team play just because of the fact that we haven't seen them play in such a long time. Of course, the U.S. national team, we saw them play a couple games in January, but guys were just coming off season, trying to get their fitness back, and it was just it wasn't anything to really write home about. But it's going to be interesting to see what the U.S. national team does, of course, and who they call up, and who what they do. Obviously, I'm sure everybody's going to be interested in that. But again, a 2-week break, this late in the season kind of sucks. You kind of really want to see Arsenal just keep on playing and finish out the season strong. So hopefully in this international break there's no injuries, there's no that's all we're looking for, no injuries. No guys coming back injured or with knocks or tired or any of that. We hope for everybody to come back healthy because we need everybody. We need all hands on deck to really finish out the season. And coming off the international break, we have Liverpool. I'll probably do something possibly maybe a few days beforehand, just to talk about some of the international break stuff and if anything interesting happened, and of course the game with Liverpool is going to be huge. The games tomorrow is going to be huge between Liverpool and Man U. I think in the grand scheme of things, we're all looking for possibly a draw, just to you know get a little bit of distance. Then we'll be up 2 points from Man U, and then we'll be up 4 points, I believe, from Liverpool. And of course, when we do come back, we play Liverpool after the international break, and if we can beat them, that means we'll be 7 points clear from Liverpool. And I'm not really looking at where Tottenham is. I think Tottenham's already 7 points. We're already 7 points clear of them, so we'll be basically 7 points clear of fifth place. Which is good, which means, that's basically 3 games. And even goal differential as well, if you put that into play. Basically, we would have to lose 3 games to really give up our top 4 spot if we do beat Liverpool, and we should be able to beat Liverpool. We don't have the hangover anymore. When we do come back, we won't have the hangover anymore of the Champions League. We won't have the hangover of being disappointed. And all that type of stuff, so that's good. I guess that's a little bit of a benefit to an international break where guys can really kind of clear their heads and refocus and be confident again and think of the season. Think of we still have the FA Cup, we still have silverware out there to get, and of course to finish out the season strong and possibly get and keep our third spot in the table, and even go after that second spot to really gain confidence for even next year that if we do stay healthy, we can win the league, and we have the ability to win the league next year if we just stay healthy. So it's going to be not only finishing out the rest of the season strong, but also gaining confidence for next year, because it's going to be a regular off season. It's not going to be anything kind of crazy like we dealt with in of course the World Cup break. How crazy that was, and trying to get guys back in form and try to get guys back refocused. It's going to be a normal season next year, which is going to be good for us. Hopefully, it's going to be good that guys are actually going to get a real off season to rest up and again to refocus and just come back stronger next year. And that'll probably be it. Let me know. Does that second half really scare you? Does it not? In the grand scheme of things, we won't even remember this game. By the end of the season, all we'll really remember it for is 3 points. Even though it's an ugly win, we have to do this. This is what Arsenal has to do sometimes. Is we have to learn to win ugly, and we have to accept to win ugly rather than always winning, I guess, beautifully in a word, of how we always like to win, because the good teams, even championship teams, win ugly. They have to grind it out sometimes, and this is just the the next stages of pushing forward and trying to win the league. All the teams do it. All the teams go through this, but yeah, that'll be it. Probably do something unless something comes up that's really worth note of talking about, whether it's in the world of football, whether it's BPL or just Arsenal alone. Maybe I'll do something, but other than that, I probably won't do something for about another maybe like week and a half or so. I'll probably, like I said, I'll do something maybe prior to the Liverpool game, and just to talk about the importance of this game and what it can mean for the rest of the season. But other than that, good international break, and see you later.